The Queens of Spice podcast is created for adult audiences only. It contains cursing, vulgar content, dark humor, descriptions of sexual acts and desires, and is not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Some episodes may also contain subjects that are triggering for listeners. Please take care of yourself.
Sorry, I'm really broke this Valentine's Day. Here's my dick.
Welcome to the Queen's Spice podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ragachu. I'm here with my bestie with the breasties, Ashton. How are you doing?
Bestie they are. I saw a thing the other day that's I wanted to make it into a shirt. It says my boobs are so big because that's where I hold my rage.
That's certainly the vibe these days. I like the one that says it has like two D20s and they both have 20s facing and it says they're natural.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of that one. I have a shirt that says it's like the Skyrim like dialogue box for a weapon and it says legendary boobs. It's quite good. Anyway, back to the original content of what we're talking about here. So we're doing a bit of reformatting. You've noticed we've been away for like 6-ish months. And that's like some scheduling issues and people have been unwell.
Rachel decided to move provinces.
I mean, listen, all of it's complicated. There's a lot of complications, but we're giving it another go. And so it's just going to be Ash and I going forward. We've come to the conclusion that Jacqueline has learned all that we can teach her about spicy romance novels. So we freed her into the nether to go forth and read her own spicy romance.
And educate the masses.
Yeah, she can pass on her knowledge to other people, and maybe she'll pop in from time to time. We'll see. So it's just Ash and I right now. Today we are reading Claimed by the Cthulhu. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Today I am reading Claimed by the Cthulhu, and I'm going to discuss this with Ashton. Ash, I had shortlisted this book for a podcast like a year ago, and she axed it, which is unheard of. I need to put that out there. Ash never straight up axes a book. This was the only one that she was like, I'm just not reading this book. And as you can imagine, Claimed by the Cthulhu has a lot of tentacles in it. And so that's kind of a little off-putting for you, maybe? Is that a fair assumption?
No, what it was, well, yeah, but no. I told you in the beginning, the way to get me to read the ridiculous books is to make them short. And you're like, oh, it's short. And then you're like, oh, wait, it's 300 pages. And I was like, I'm not fucking dedicating 300 pages to ridiculousness.
So on that note, I'm going to read the summary and then I'm going to rant a bit. And then we'll go through the narrative. So
we're ranting already?
I have a rant to begin with. I have feelings. Okay. Monster speed dating. Sounds fun, right? Except Marea's life as a marine biologist takes a slippery turn when she mistakes a Cthulhu for an octopus, only to find him seated across from her on date night. Now, every time she turns around, he's there, watching, winking, waiting until she succumbs to his charm. But she's not ready for love. She has her studies, a mission to save the ocean, and a secret darker than the deepest depths of the sea. Will Kaus claim her as his? Or will she run from him like everyone else in her life?
His name's Cow?
His name's Kaus.
Oh, Kaus.
Kaus. So like mouse, but Kaus?
What the fuck?
Here's the thing. His name is spelt chaos, Chaos. And there's a whole bit early on in this book where he kind of makes fun of her for saying it like humans would pronounce it, like chaos, because it's a Cthulhu name, so it's Kaus. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. It's like Eris Kaphos or some shit. Anyway, he's an experimental scientist at a place called Eldrick Labs. No surprise at that name.
Because of course he is.
And Marea is a marine biologist. He's like 33 and she's like 27-ish. So like decent age gap.
Wait, he's not like an age-old Cthulhu beast thing?
No. So the way, complicated. So I don't have a full dossier of what Cthulhu's live through in their lives. But they start like spawning, quote unquote, at the age of 19. So basically they go off to this like island once a year to like procreate. All Cthulhu do this, both male and female. So it's a whole thing. And they have like, in this universe that we're building here, they have a bunch of different races, and it's all like fairly standard in that like this is not a surprise to anyone, like they've always existed. In this book, we kind of set this precedent that just because they've existed for a long time doesn't mean we know a lot about some of these like creatures. So the Cthulhus, for example, where they have this spawning thing every year,
Like salmon.
very much like salmon, unlike some of the other creatures where they can like have heat suppressants and stuff, Cthulhu don't have that. And so Kaus is trying to come up with a solution to this where they have like this heat suppressant so that Cthulhu don't have to go to the spawning every year. Because as you can imagine, if you're in a relationship with somebody or like you have another life or something, like this innate thing that you have to do or you die every year is pretty detrimental. And especially to Kaus too, like he has to go and procreate with somebody who he's not interested in. And then likewise, these females have to like procreate with males who they're not interested in. And so it becomes this like weird dynamic. But to start the book, this is book 2 of the Monstrous Meet Cute series.
Monstrous Meet Cute.
Written by Wendi Guff. This is a pen name, technically, Wendi Guff, G-O-G-H, so it's like Wendigo.
Technically, it's a pen name.
Technically,
they weren't born with this name.
arguably, yeah. Their last name is Guff, which they write under now. Because when I get this book, like, oh my gosh, a year and a half ago or something, I have the version that has Wendi Guff on it. But now if you go and purchase the book, it's Wendi Guff.
Is that their actual last name?
That's their actual last name, yeah. So they're actually writing under their name now. But this, so like I said, this is book 2. Book 1 is audited by the Anubis.
Oh, that one.
Yes, that's the first one. Then there's inked by the, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Ithakia? I don't know that word.
A word Rachel doesn't know.
Checked out by the Chupacabra.
Is that one in the library?
Yes, it is. Bossed by the Boggart. Edged by the Earl King. Pucked by the Puka, which is a hockey book.
A hockey monster romance?
Yeah, it's a hockey monster romance. And then there's Dared by the Dragon, which comes out at the end of April. So I think Pucked by the Puka just came out like last month or something. Like we're in mid-April right now. And I will say though, and this is my, we're getting into my main gripe very early today. My main gripe with the physical book when I bought it, just to clarify, like I said, I would have bought it in like maybe late 2023 or early 2024. The physical book of this makes me want to stab my eyes out.
Jesus Christ.
Which is a lot.
That's aggressive starting off.
Yeah, when you read it on Kindle, it's less offensive. Just because like, at least on my Kindle when I read it, I like have my brightness turned down and like you don't really care about page numbers per se because like it's already counting page numbers. Anyway, on the physical book of this, it has a border around every single page that makes me want to jump off a bridge. And it doesn't have any page numbers.
Oh, really?
Yes. And the spacing on the text is like very amateur. Like this was just kind of thrown together. And so this was not created with a physical book in mind, which is like, I get it. And I understand that it's like only their second book they've ever written and they're like early 20s, whatever. But like you could do better. You could do much better. Even templates are better than that. So I was pretty upset with the physical book when I got it. And then when I came back to read it recently, I'm just like, oh, right. I forgot how much I fucking hated this. But what I will say, though, is that, yeah, it's 300 pages, but it's a super short 300 pages. Because the spacing is so obnoxious and like the margins are so weird and shit. Like the actual physical book seems very short when you read it. So that's my rant about the...
It was still 300 pages on Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, listen, I hear you. I do. I do hear you, and I accept the fact. And like, here's the thing, Ash, you never actually read it, so like, you won. I totally appreciate it.
Yeah, I also won because I only had to read one of the pillow books.
So far, you might want to read the second one. Who knows?
I will tell you this right now. I have no desire in my soul to read the second book or the third book of that fucking horrorscape ever. I'm done with it. I can't believe I read the first one.
Thank you. The first one was incredibly short, admittedly. So like, at least you only suffered briefly.
The second one was not.
No, the second one's like It's like a 250 page book. But anyway, I have them sitting beside me. I wonder why. So
Yeah, I wonder why.
Spoilers. So let's get back to the narrative here. So we open up with, like I said, with Kaus he's lamenting about having to go to the spawning this year.
Because he's part salmon.
Yeah, because he's a salmon. We get this backstory about what I just explained about, like, the spawning starts at 19. It's a biological need. If neglected, they, like, perish.
Implode.
Yeah, they basically die. And then the other kind of sad part is that, like the salmon situation, which is a good analogy, strangely, they go and lay their eggs, and then they never know what happens to them. And so, like, once the baby Cthulhu's hatch, they just kind of, like, wander through the world and get, like, adopted by people. Like, they don't necessarily go to their own family members.
Adopted by people.
Yeah, so there's a big adoption system for Cthulhu specifically in this book series. And Kaus actually does a lot of donation in the form of money and time to kind of help with those people and, like, building resources and stuff like this in order to help, like, children Cthulhu and their families who end up adopting them kind of understand, like, the nature of Cthulhu's. Because as you can imagine, like, you're a very specific kind of monster that lives in this world that is growing up without the knowledge of who you are or what you are as a species. And so it gets kind of complicated for younger people. And, like, we're going to come back to this too because it actually comes up in the book. Are we talking
about people or Cthulhu's? That's kind of important at this point in the game.
Yeah, I guess we're talking about Cthulhu's.
Okay, so are they adopted by human people or are they adopted by Cthulhu people?
So they can be adopted by anybody. We're going to come across an example later in the book that I'll talk about that where they were adopted by humans, which is very interesting.
Okay.
Like I said, there's no heat suppressants, and this is what Kaus is working on. So we're getting this kind of whole dialogue as he's just, like, lazing around in this tide pool off, like, the coast of California, because of course he has a beach house, because he's loaded.
He's a Cthulhu scientist.
Yeah, he's a experimental scientist specifically. Fucking nerds. So we get this kind of, like, little backstory about how Kaus meets Tula, who's another Cthulhu. She's a lady on the island where they spawn. It has a name. It's like Dread Island or some shit. It's very Cthulhu-esque.
Dread Island.
Yeah. So this particular year that he had to go spawn, he meets Tula on the island, and this is like he and Tula have met on the island many, many years in a row. Like, it's kind of, I don't know. It's like their thing they do, and she is actually married to a Gorgon, and so she's not even she's a lesbian. She's not even straight. And so this, again, is another complication of this whole thing where they're like, why do we have to do this? This is bullshit.
Why is there biological imperative that we fuck? I don't even like dick.
Precisely. So, however, in this part of the story, because, like, Kaus is getting to the end of this and Tula is, like, fed up with all this bullshit too.
Yeah.
She sneaks her wife onto the island, which you are not supposed to do because, like, this is kind of a sacred place where no other creatures are supposed to tread apart from Cthulhu because it's like their mating ground, right?
Yeah.
And so her wife, Meni, M-E-N-I, who's not supposed to be there, like, her and Tula offer a threesome with Kaus so that, like, at least they can be involved, sort of thing. What he ends up doing is, instead of having a threesome with them, which he thought was very, like, you know, kind of heartfelt, because he's like, oh, she's including her wife and that's lovely and they have this great relationship, and just because we have to do this doesn't mean we have to suffer.
Yeah.
And so what he does is he detaches his kotilo, I think that's how it's pronounced, which is his penis. It detaches, has suction cups on it, and he gives it to them so that Manny can, like, use it as a strap-on kind of thing and then fuck her wife with it. So the way the kotilo work in this, his, like, detachable dick, it has, like, a mind of its own in like a base creature sense. So, like, it has it's a hard thing to talk about without laughing. So it has its own, like, I guess, directive where it's like, need to fuck, must procreate. It can be used in this way, and that, you know, it still has its own sperm inside of it and stuff, which is purple, by the way. So you could still procreate even though it's not attached to him. And he doesn't really feel, like, he gets a kind of an inkling of what's going on with his kotilo when it's not attached, but he can't, like, feel it. Now, when it reattaches to him, then he gets this flood of information about what happened when it was away, sort of thing.
Oh my fuck right off. Like, oh, for the love of, could you imagine? Like, oh, where'd you go, little guy? Oh my God. Oh, the pussy.
Just went for a little romp with a lesbian couple. We're going to come back to that, though, so put a pin in it. As you can imagine, this mechanic comes up a couple times because, of course, it does. So then, so that's the intro of Kaus and what's going on. And this is like the premise that guides a lot of his actions and stuff going forward about like trying to find suppressants so that like the Cthulhu race doesn't have to go through this every year. So then we jump to the intro with Marea, who is having lunch with her bestie, Callie, and they're just kind of like lamenting about the dating situation in the world. And Callie convinces Marea to go on a speed dating mixer with like monsters and humans. And of course, like, this feels very much like a conversation you and I would have in public, hilariously, because we don't really care what people have to say, especially when we're out in public. But they're basically like talking about monster cock. And the server, who's also, I can't remember what the server is. What's those dudes that have one eye?
A cyclops.
Yeah. So like the waiter is a cyclops, and he like overhears this and kind of like, yeah, monster cocks are better, girls. Like, go get it. Anyway, so
yeah, that definitely seems like a thing that would happen to us in real life.
Yes, absolutely. Like, I was reading this, I'm like, oh, you and I would sit around eating chips and salsa, drinking margaritas, and talking about monster cock. Like, of course we would be doing that in the middle of the day.
Yep. Because neither one of us have a job, and we're both,
They were both on their lunch breaks, in fairness. That's the unrealistic part, is we would never be in the same room together in order to do that, but I aspire to be that someday.
Or like lunch breaks at the same time.
Yeah, correct. So they make this plan for like a couple days later to go on this mixer and
to get that cack.
Yeah, to get the cack. So now, of course, Marea has like monster cock in her mind, and then we get.
So you felt seen in this book.
I did a little bit. Yeah, I always had monster cock in my mind.
You were like, man, that monster dick.
That's all I think about is weird typographic stuff and monster dick. That's my entire life.
This book hit both your niches.
Oh God, the fucking design of this just kills me. Just want to stab my eyes out. Anyway, so then we get this intro of her and like kind of what she does in her day-to-day life, which is she's a biological researcher, and she is she has a grant at Pepperdine University researching reproductive cycles of marine life in conjunction with bioluminescent organisms. So basically what she's testing is that like a lot of organisms, their reproductive cycles circle around like the moon and the moon cycles.
Yeah.
And she's studying it using bioluminescent organisms because they create their own light, like bioluminescent light. And so she's trying to figure out if the mating cycles are different for bioluminescent organisms versus like ones that follow the moon circulation and that light. That's her studying. And so she spends a lot of time in the ocean, as you can imagine. And especially in tide pools, because tide pools apparently in this part of the world have a lot of bioluminescent organisms that she studies. And so this one night, she's out there in the tide pool late at night because she has to study these at night, as you can imagine. And she mistakes what is a monster cock for an octopus. And it's like, I don't pretend to understand anything about octopuses.
But octopus has like a central unit that the things are attached to, and I would assume that a monster penis would be just one entity.
I'm about to explain this, and I'll explain this to the best of my ability because, like I said, I don't understand octopus. Anyway, she's in a tide pool. It's dark. It's nighttime, and there's like a tentacle dude coming out of the water, and she like pokes it because Tentacle. She's like, oh, it's a little octopus guy. The octopus has a specific name. I don't know what it is. It's some like
Frank
Latin name that I can't pronounce. So she's like poking it and like, it's a little tentacle coming out of the water. So she's like playing with it, whatever. And then accidentally maybe strokes it the wrong way or the right way. And depending on how you want to look at that.
Oh my God.
And then all of a sudden there's some like, purple stuff coming out of the end of it. And then we cut to
her fucking it.
Kaus's chapter where he's just chilling in a tide pool, going over his existence, like having an existential basically. And like kind of in and out of consciousness, and then he wakes up because he's coming because someone is jerking him off in this tide pool.
I thought, oh right, he has like a slight semblance of like feeling and understanding.
Yes, but he's also like, when it's attached to him, yes, it's always, and in this case, it's attached to him.
Wait, what?
Because he's like laying in the bottom of the tide pool.
Oh, it's attached to him at this point. I understand now.
Yes, correct. It's not just out for a romp, which, I mean, admittedly it could be. But,
what is he, buried under the fucking rocks?
kind of, yeah. How can I, because like Cthulhu in this one are like basically big octopus, right? Like that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, in that like they just hang out in dark tide pools sometimes, and like they're not like, they're human-esque, but not like, they're still very monstrous. And so he's a big dude that like 7 feet tall that walks around and does stuff and does science and bullshit, but like he spends his evenings like out in the water sometimes, like having an existential.
Yeah, I get that, but like, how do you not notice that there is something attached to like that? What the fuck?
Do you know, actually, here, I can explain it perfectly, Ashton. Do you want to know how you wouldn't notice that? Plot is why you didn't notice that.
That's not a good explanation.
You're not
I
wrong.
don't accept this explanation.
That's totally fair. You don't have to accept any of it.
No, I just picture like a dude laying in a pool. Yeah. And like,
it's okay. It's like pitch blackout. It's nighttime.
Because that makes them less obvious. Yes. Okay. No. At some point, when you are touching it, you're going to touch the body that it is attached to.
Oh, it's very big.
Obviously. But like, oh, for God's sakes. Okay.
Okay. Pray, let me continue.
Yes, please do.
So then, of course, he wakes up and she's like, oh my God, this is a fucking person, like a creature of some sort. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you totally just jerked me off by mistake. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. My bad. Didn't mean to leave it there.
But then, of course, because he's like, damn, she curvy and hot, because she's wearing her like wetsuit because she's out in the tide pools and stuff. And so like, she curvy lady and she gorgeous. And he's like, I mean, do you want me to return the favor? And she's of course like, hell no. And then like takes off.
Jesus Christ.
Which reasonable. So she goes back to her car, whatever. She does, however, stay up late that night researching Cthulhu, because now she is incredibly intrigued, especially on the heels of like the monster cock conversation. So let's fast forward to the next day when she goes to the speed dating event with her bestie, Callie. And who do you suppose is at the speed dating event?
Abraham Lincoln.
It's Abraham Lincoln if he was a Cthulhu. So Kaus is there. And we get a little intro of like some of the other monster races here. I'm not going to go over them because like this is a whole entire series. But there's like a couple other monsters that she sits down and chats with and doesn't like, she hits them off kind of. One of them she really hits it off with, and he like slides her number. But at this point you're getting this thing with Kaus where, how can we phrase this? So Kaus is a monster race. Monster races have mates. He has this thing in the back of his head where he's like, this is my mate. He knows it's like a fated mate situation, but it's only for his race. Like she doesn't get as much of an inkling as he does. You kind of get this like dichotomy of like, she's into him but oblivious, and he's like, this is my mate, I must have her. And so you get this like obsessive kind of thing going on in the back of his chapters all the time. He of course slides the number from the guy had left her and like gets rid of it because he's like, nope, you're mine. They like have a chat. He gets like very territorial about her in a lot of ways. He invites her to dinner, but then she's like, this is a bit much, and she takes off instead of going to dinner. This is where we get the chapter where Kaus is like, he's like, okay, cool, I got blown off again. Like, this is fine. They did end up chatting a bit, so he found out a little bit about her. And so he's like kind of out for his night swim, lamenting, and he comes across a young Cthulhu who's like, I think she's like 6 or 7, like she's quite young. And she had run away from her family. And so he explains about Cthulhu and how they're, you know, they are hatched and then they get adopted by families. And this kid was like looking for her biological family. And he's like, you're probably not going to find them. Like it's like, unfortunately, this massive process to like just do the DNA testing of all these people. Like it's very challenging, and there's not a lot of resources put into it because they're just one of many monster races. Anyway, and so her parents end up like finding her, like coming to the beach and finding her. And Kaus explains how like there are resources for this, and he gives them his private number to be like, if you ever need information about raising Cthulhu and stuff, like, please contact me. And so you get this background information about him and the donations he does and like the work he does on the side. And then of course, because he's now obsessed with this gal, Marea.
Mana. Do 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 do. Every time you say her name, that goes through my head.
Mana. Every time, like he's you know, a super smarty pants, as you can imagine. So is she. And so he pieces together, given the information, the small amount of information he has about her, where she works. Because he knew her first name, he knew she was researching bioluminescence, and he knew she had a grant at a local university. So those are like those three things pieced together where she worked. And so he figured it out. And so what he did was he sent her like a bajillion flowers to her work.
Jesus.
And he uses the cards on the flowers to put together a little word puzzle for her to ask her on a date. I think it's like the secretary or somebody who is working there. They're having this conversation, and Marea is like lamenting about kind of her past damage and how she doesn't know if she's ready for this kind of commitment and this kind of stuff. And Trista, who's the gal she's talking to, like convinces her to go at least give this guy a chance and go on a date with him, because this is like a big gesture and stuff. And like in the background of Manea's chapters too, you do get this, like, she is kind of low-key very interested in this guy, but she's trying to, like, she's fighting against this internal struggle of like her past and kind of the shit she had gone through before.
Trauma.
So they end up going on this date, but before they go on this date, he takes off his kotilo and locks it in the dresser, so that he behaves himself, because it's like, I think at this point it's like 2 weeks to the next spawning. And so he's like keyed up all the time, like 24/7. And even after he like rubs one out or something, he's still like, I gotta, like, it's just immediate again. So he just takes it off and puts it in a dresser. So he's like, I'm behaving myself. I'm gonna be a gentleman. I'm not gonna try to do anything weird.
If only men could do that in real life.
Could you imagine? That would be fucking rad, wouldn't it?
I mean, I think, yeah.
Well, my thing would be too, like, hey, significant other, like, are you not using that? Like, let me take it home. Like,
oh, I love how that's where your brain went. Where my brain went like, guys act like the bear. Like, here, to prevent me from doing dicky things, I'm going to shove my dick somewhere so that...
Just my dick in a box.
Yeah.
I know. I love this mechanic. Like, I think it's kind of genius. I would love to hear from guys out there. If you could be able to do this, would you? I'd love to know.
Sorry, I'm really broke this Valentine's Day. Here's my dick.
Literally, here's my dick in a box. Like, that could be, it can almost be like a proposal situation where it's like, hey, babe, I'm going to get down on my knee and give you my dick in a box. And this is yours forever. Just like...
the symbolism.
I'm just saying, I think we could have a different society if that were the case. Plus, like... I mean... If you were a young person, and I'm like, I always hear stories about guys that get like involuntary boners when they were younger, and it's like, just like take that off and leave it at home. So they go on this date. He invites her, like they just go out like on a boat basically, and he's going to take her to this like other tide pool further out to like do more researchy stuff.
Yeah.
And so they're chatting on the boat, and like he's asking her a lot about her research specifically, and like is very interested in what she's doing and fascinated at like the mechanics of it, and like, you know, it's a science person talking to a science person. Like, of course, they're nerding the fuck out about it. And of course, and I think we can relate to this to a point. She's like, this person is listening keenly and asking very smart questions about everything I have to say. And as a nerdy person, when somebody does that, you're like, yes, thank you. This is like hitting some of the levels in my brain that make me very pleased right now. And so they, of course, like, start having some sexy times on the boat. And
without his penis.
Without his penis. Well, here's the thing, is that he goes down on her, and he's got like, okay, I need you to maybe plug your ears for a second. I'm going to tell the audience something. So he has these like face tentacle things.
Yeah. Like
they
Davy
have a
Jones.
name. I can't remember what they're called. Yeah, like Davy Jones. And he uses those while he's pleasuring her to put them in places.
Not places.
Definitely in places. And like, you know, like do some gentle massaging in areas and stuff too. Anyway, so it's like hot as fuck, as you can imagine. As I can imagine, because I don't want to put that in your brain. But anyway, so that's, you know, they have some fun times on the boat. He is like, this is not a payback situation. Like, this is a payback situation in that, like, you've already gone down on me. I didn't expect nothing out of this. And he's like, again, he's possessive, but he's trying to rein it back in. And then she, of course, straight up is like, well, you can just like own me. That's perfectly fine. And of course, he's like all on board on this shit because he's like, oh, thank fucking God I can do that. They have their lovely evening of, you know, canoodling on the boat.
Canoodling.
And then we fast forward to the next day with lunch with Callie again. Marea is talking about how much she's into this guy and how it's kind of worrisome because of her past damage. And like you kind of get inklings of what it is here, but you don't get like the full dealio. You do get like she's not in contact with her parents anymore about this whole thing. So like there's some shit going on here. And then we also get this background that Callie is dating a troll. And they're basically married because they've gone on 3 dates together. And this is California. So apparently that's a thing.
That's how that works, is it?
That's how that works, exactly. So then Callie challenges her to be like, well, did you ask Kaus on a date? Like, what's going on here? Like, are you going to ask him out? Because this is equal opportunities.
Yeah.
And so she's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. And so what she does is she sends him a package. And in the package is a puzzle, like an actual puzzle to put together with a picture and stuff. And she sends him this puzzle, and it's a picture of like a temple or something that is like up on a hill out in the hills of California or something. And it's basically like a meet me here situation at this time. And so he pieces that. He spends like most of the day putting this together, and he figures it out. And so they end up going on a picnic date. And one of the things that she does is she brings Lebanese food because they were supposed to go out for Lebanese food the first, like after that speed dating thing where she took off. And so she's like, as a little like maybe apology or some shit, she brings Lebanese food, which is kind of cute. And although there's one thing, because again, he's trying to play it cool, and he's not like being overt about how much he's into her and that kind of stuff, even though like we as the audience get that. And I don't know. I'm always like tiptoe this line of like, I don't know if this is endearing or just offensive, but he has the phrase at one point, he says, being a gentleman is going to kill me. And I'm always like, ee.
Okay, Harvey Keitel.
Right? Them's the vibes. And anyway.
I mean, I get it to a point. Like, okay, yeah, the idea of like, I know I'm not supposed to want this, but I really want this, and I'm struggling against. I get it, but I think there's a better way of putting it, because that just makes it sound like he's doing her a favor or something.
You're correct. That's what it sounds like. Like it's a little bit like rapey almost, or like sexual assaulty, and I don't care for that.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like a finger wag where it's like, oh, you're lucky that I'm trying to be a gentleman right now.
Yeah, I mean, okay, cute to a point maybe, but like...
That's what I mean. It's a mixed bag for me, where I'm like, I see what you're trying to do, but come on, like, it's the current year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it depends on the audience. I don't know, like...
That's right. And I will say, like, if you read this book, it is a little immature.
Okay.
And so that vibe is like that kind of conflicting vibe. I'm like, oh, okay, I see. Like, this is the entire like vibe of the book is immature in that regard. And so I'm like, okay. So like someone who maybe cares less about those things probably wrote that.
Maybe it's kind of like I like looking at a cheesecake and being like, man, that cheesecake's lucky I'm on a diet.
Yeah, like it's just kind of it's a weird tone. Anyway, it put me off, and I was like, ugh, I'm gonna make a note of that. That's off-putting. So then I think like the next day, so they have a lovely date, whatever, they go their separate ways. The next day, she is messaging Callie about monster dicks, and so she's like on a website shopping for tentacle dildos because I mean them's the vibes. And so her and Callie are texting, and they're sending pictures back and forth, and then out of nowhere, he calls her to invite her out on a date or something, and she immediately picks the phone up without looking at it and is like, listen, when I order one of the tentacle dildos, I'll tell you about it, and blah 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 blah. And of course it's Kaus, and he's like, excuse me, you're doing what now? And so now we put this like tentacle dildos is in play here. That's what I need to frame this as. It's important. It has
tentacle dildos are now in play.
Tentacle dildos are now in play. Hashtag Bad Dragon. Please sponsor us. He invites her on a date to the lab, basically, which is a thing. That's fair, if that's what you're into. And so he shows her the lab and all this like cool stuff that they have going on. He had gotten her a gift, and so he put the gift on his desk, but then like and it was like wrapped in stuff, but like he was having a hard time controlling himself again, because again, it's like a week and a half out from spawning now, and he's like super keyed up all the time. So he takes his kotilo off and puts it in the gift box, and then takes the gift out and puts it on his desk. And the gift is like a snow globe with octopus or something. Like it's kind of a tease when she mistook his dick for an octopus back in the day. Anyway, so he puts it in the box, tapes it up, puts it away. Then they like, do some canoodling in the lab, and he goes down on her, and it's hot, of course, because he has, again, tentacle face thingies. And then he gets they're called barbels. Barbels? Whatever. Those things. Face tentacles is what I'm going to call them.
Barbels. This
is where we get a little bit of background, because he goes to put a barbel in her butt, and he's like, can I do this? And then she's like, I have a bit of damage, and there's a story here. And he's like, that's okay. And she's like, no, I trust you. You can do it. So he does it. Anyway, then after that, we get this little backstory, because he tells her, she tells him about it. So the story is her high school boyfriend, who's named Juan Carlos. I know, Ashton. Are you good?
It's not that the name itself is funny. It's just that wasn't what I was expecting in any capacity. Like,
yeah,
it's not the name. I don't find the name funny.
I hear you, because Emily, it took me out too. It took me out of the game. But I mean, you have to remember too, and maybe I'm not doing a good job of explaining this. She is Latina, and so her parents are like from Mexico. Like they're very religious, and they're very like strict, and they're very like Latina parents. So they were very religious, and they met in like Sunday school or some shit, right? Like they were raised very religious. And so they dated for like, I think a year before, I think she was 17 at the time, when they're like having the sex talk about like, hey, let's do this. And he's like, hey, listen, we need to save ourselves for marriage, but we can do butt stuff.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
So of course, like, imagine religious people who don't know anything about anything doing butt stuff, and of course they don't do it correctly, so like there's some issues there, and religion is dumb, and don't even get me started. But anyways, and then so she of course is like keyed up to do vaginal sex with him, and he keeps turning her down. And so just keep that in mind as we go forward. But he refuses to do anything but anal. And so at one point she kind of like tricks him into doing vaginal sex.
Oh, sketchy.
Kind of
bad.
It's very yeah, the whole thing is very questionable. I don't know. I don't want to it's weird. It's a weird one, and I don't know what kind of judgment I have on it, because I don't know. Listen, I have feelings. The whole thing is weird. Anyway, but as you can imagine, what becomes of that is the worst thing, quote unquote, happens. And so that's where we leave that conversation.
She did a dick thing, and the worst thing happened. Like,
yes, so that's where we're at. So just leave that there for now. We're going to come back to it. So, of course, this whole conversation gets interrupted before she can tell him what the worst thing ever is. He gets a call from Tula, and her wife is unwell and is asking Kaus to come by and see if there's anything he can do, like medically. Because he studies Cthulhu, and he studies a lot of monster races and stuff. So, like, he has some insight about monsters in general. So they're kind of asking him around to give his insight on what's going on with her. And then as they're leaving, he's like, hey, Marea, grab that gift. I left a gift for you on my desk. You just like grab it as we're on our way out. And so she goes in to grab the gift, and she sees like the gift box. And so she grabs the gift box and puts it in her bag.
Yeah, because why wouldn't she?
Because why wouldn't you? And she comments like, oh, that's a really cute snow globe he has on his desk. That's adorable. And then continues on with her life. So they leave. He drops her off, whatever. Kaus goes to Tula and Menes, and Menes is pregnant. And so the way, we're going to get to some biological bullshit here that I'm going to try to explain, but don't quote me on it. Tula, who's a Cthulhu, when they get unwell, they release this like toxin, like, or like when they're procreating or whatever, they release a toxin that is like not toxic per se. It's more of like an aphrodisiac almost. Oh, dear but God. It is technically toxic depending on the situation. And Mandy, who is a gorgon, so like a Medusa, as you can imagine, has these like eyeball doodads off her head, which she usually wears a turban over. Those eyeball doodads are what she uses to create an egg. Like there's a whole, again, I don't know how it works, but that's what those are that's my understanding. She uses these tentacle eyeball thingies to make herself pregnant, whatever.
To make herself, so she makes herself pregnant.
Yes, so all gorgons are like
female,
asexually reproducing. So they're always producing females. So it's like basically a clone of themselves almost. And so all Gorgons are women in that case. Anyway, there's a whole, and I'm sure this comes up in some of the other books, but that's like the framing we have. Many's egg is dying. And what we've pieced together here is that when Tula was unwell, she released this toxin that Many's tentacle doodads absorbed somehow. And then when she made herself pregnant with them, that got absorbed into the egg or something. So there's some like there's some like toxic bullshit thing going on here. And so the egg is not doing well for that reason. Kaus offers to take the egg and run some tests and then does like some anti-venom stuff on the egg and whatever. And so we have this like crisis going on in the background where he's trying to save their egg. And there's a conversation here too about like, hey, if we can't save this egg, do you think during the spawning in like a week and a half, we could like create, fertilize an egg ourselves and then take it back with us? Basically, like, so Kaus and Tula would create a child together that Tula and Many would then raise.
Yeah.
Like, and adopt as their own. So, like, that's out there. So then we cut to what's going on with Marea right now, which is she opens her gift when she gets home. And what is in that box but his detached kotilo. So she's like, oh my god, I was just talking about tentacle dildos, and he gifted me a tentacle dildo. Because she has no idea that this is a thing that Cthulhu can do, because
why would she?
So obviously she like uses this, and then she sends Kaus a video of it, and it's like hot as fuck.
Oh god.
And we get the video from his perspective, which is double interesting. And of course his perspective is like, oh my god, like she found a replica that looks like my dick because she's seen it before. Then he's watching this, he's like, oh my god, like this is so fucking hot, blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden he sees the purple cum come out of it at the end, and he's like, oh, there's no fucking way that is like a replica for sure of this thing. And then he like rushes into his office and he sees the box is gone. He's like, oh fuck. Because part of the issue here is that around spawning time, Cthulhu jizz is like super duper potent. In the back of his head, he's like, if she's at a certain point of her cycle, there's no way she's not pregnant right now. Like it's like a 90% chance. Like it's very high, you know what I mean? And they don't mention anything about birth control in here either, so I'm not sure about like if you can actually get birth control against Cthulhu cum or whatever. I really don't know.
Interspecies.
Yeah, I don't know about interspecies like birth control. Not sure. Anyway, so he rushes off to meet her because he's like, this is fucking crazy. In the meantime, he had told her about what's going on with Tula and Many, like before the video got sent.
Yeah.
And so Marea specifically was like, oh my god, if Tula or Many, if they need anything, like I will absolutely go help them and like just be there to support them or whatever. And so like he extends that offer to Marea and Tula, who like at this point know that Kaus is like super into this gal, and they're like, okay, well, like we'll welcome her into the community sort of thing. And so Marea goes over and like kind of sits with Many, and you get this kind of the backstory about why she would have done this potentially. Like this hits very close to home for her, because as soon as she like sits down with Many's just like, they took my baby. Because like this egg that she had given birth to is now gone. And so instead of like sitting with her, what should have been her newborn child, she's like worried about like, they took this egg from me and they're trying to save it and all this stuff. And she's just like empty. She just feels so empty about it. And so this is where you get the backstory of Marina and the bad thing that happened. The bad thing that happened was that she was pregnant. What happened with her is that her parents made her keep it until she gave birth. And when she gave birth, they put the kid up for adoption and just took it away from her.
So her parents suck.
We get this kind of information that like when this came out, Juan Carlo and his family like skipped town. Like they just wanted nothing to do with it. And so she ended up like alone with this child, and then the guy that she thought loved her just like left and wanted nothing to do with her anymore. And so at the time though, she was 18 when she gave birth. And so Manny points out, because she is a lawyer, I believe, she points out that there was no reason they should have taken her child from her, because an 18-year legal adult. And then she was the one who should have decided if that was a choice she wanted to make, and her parents just like skipped over her and did it anyway. So now we have that information out there too about like, hey, this is actually like, it was illegal for them to do that, and you have like parental rights to this kid. So that's out there. And then Tula brings up this spawning to Marea, because at this point Marea has no idea what the spawning is and doesn't know like the nuance of here. Like she was looking up stuff about Cthulhu like and their history. She wasn't looking up like, you know, procreation or anything. And so Tula discloses all of the information to Marea that we now as the audience know about, like this spawning happens every year and like this is what happens with the eggs, and like you're basically forced into doing this biologically and there's nothing you can do about it. And like Kaus is trying to kind of fix this for us as Cthulhu, but he's having like a hard time doing it, and it's been like a process and all this stuff. So then Kaus rolls up, and then we get Marea tells like unloads the information about her son with all this stuff. He tells, on the heels of that, of course, he tells Marea that she might be pregnant because of the video. And then of course she has like this meltdown, as one would, because like on this heels of telling this story about how she like had her kid taken from her, now she's pregnant again, surprise, probably. And they, you know, like she has a kind of a deep breath, and they reconcile this, and they kind of carry on, is what I'll say.
They carry on.
Well, there's no like what do you do in this situation, right? It's like, this is not a thing we can talk about right now because like Manny's egg is dying and we need to like figure this shit out, and it's like very important.
Fuck you and your might be pregnantness.
It's tricky, right?
We have to deal with the actual pregnantness.
Yeah, let's deal with one crisis at a time. So they get a call from the lab. So I should say too, like there was a Gorgon doctor who was kind of helping out with them as well. And so the doctor was at the lab monitoring the egg because like Kaus injected it with like anti-venom stuff, like antitoxis. Anyway, he had a thing he did. Science. And so
science.
I'm not going to pretend to understand any of it, but science happened. And then the egg, they get a call from the lab for the doctor who's monitoring the egg, and the egg is like now going back to its normal color. Like it was all black and discolored, and so now it's like slowly like going back to the right color. You get this like inkling that Marea is going to like, I'm going to hold off on finding out if I'm actually pregnant at this point, to like, because it's like it's also like been a day, so like she's like, I'm going to hold off on this and we're going to sort it out later because this is like too important. Her and Kaus, while they're waiting kind of to see what happens with the egg, they go back to like her place and they do like some naughty shit, and I'm gonna read about it to you because it's wonderful. I think it's a highlight of the book is what I'm gonna say.
It's
and
the
I feel like
highlight of the book.
Well, here's the thing, is that I feel like I picked this book up for this reason, and I had forgotten about it until I read it through again. I was like, oh right, I forgot this happened.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, I know you know, and I'm gonna read about it. So anyways, we're not gonna spoil it right now. But anyway, so they do some sexy times and it's great. Then we jump forward a bit. The egg is hatching. So Kaus takes the egg back to Tula and Manny so they can be with the egg while it's hatching. And then Tula like has like, after everything's great and you know little Gorgon baby's alive and doing well, then Tula takes Kaus aside and asks him about the spawning. And when he does, when they have this conversation and kind of sussing things out, he has this eureka moment when Marea mentions something about bioluminescence. And so there's this like, again, science happens and I don't pretend to understand it, but there's some connection with like her bioluminescent sciencey shit that can offset the Cthulhu's nature of having to spawn once a year by like artificially whatever something science. So basically like Kaus uses like pieces all these things together and figures out a solution so that they don't have to do the spawning. And so he creates this vaccine and basically like starts giving it out to people. Like anyway, the science here is also like questionable because I'm like, you can't push through this shit through the FDA. And I'm like, I'm sure monster FDA doesn't exist, but that's fine.
I love
anyway
the rationale of all of this when he removes his dick.
Yeah, removing the dick is not questionable, but like getting a
not.
vaccine pushed through in like a number of weeks is insane. Anyway, so they start creating this vaccine, and we jump ahead a couple months of like they've been working on this together. Like Marea comes to work at his lab, and they're putting together this vaccine for Cthulhu folk in order to like stop having to go to the spawning basically and like procreating, you know, against their will. And so that's like kind of one of the happy endings here. So they figured out this big puzzle that they've been trying to solve. Once that kind of settles down, she announces to him like weeks later that she is pregnant. And she does it in a bunch of really funny ways because she leaves like pregnancy tests all over the lab to like basically like on his desk and just like in his office and stuff. And he just keeps throwing them out. And then every so often he's like, these things keep popping up. Like, what is this? What are these test strips just showing up in my office and blah, 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 blah. And she has a sidebar with one of the other scientists at the lab. And the scientist is just like, he has no idea. And she's like, yeah, he's fucking clueless. He has no idea what that means. So they, she announces to him that she's pregnant. He pieces it all together. And then they end up moving in together, of course, because they're like going to be together. And so like a couple weeks after that, they have dinner with Manny and Tula. And I think Callie's there too, where they like announce that she's pregnant and stuff and have that conversation about they're moving in together and whatever. Manny, we had a conversation earlier about parental rights with Marea and her son, and she had allowed Manny to look into it. And so Manny had sent an investigator on the case, and they found her son, because it's been like, 10 years basically. So the kid's like 10 years old, and that kid is like living happily with their adopted parents and like, thriving and doing well. And so Marea kind of leaves it at that, and with the notion of like, if this kid ever reaches out to me or wants to know who his mother is or parents are, then like she will obviously be there as a resource. But this kid is like living their best life. So she's going to like leave that alone for now. And that's kind of where we leave the book. So we've got a lot of resolution there, but like we solved the Cthulhu spawning issue. They're going to have a Cthulhu human hybrid baby together, and Marea knows where her son is, all doing very well.
You read a pregnancy book on purpose.
Here's the thing. I read a monster romance book that had pregnancy in it as like as a summation. I don't think like it wasn't the main part of the book.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Monster Dick was the main part of the book, and Detachable Tokilos. Kotilo. God, that's a hard word. So that's where we're at. I'm going to read something for you.
Amazing.
I'm going to read it from the horrible badness that is the book, the physical copy, which I'm remiss to lay my eyes upon again.
Jesus.
And we'll see how this goes. Because, like, God love Jack, I'm not a great reader like she is. So we'll give this a whirl. Fuck. Give me a moment. I'm ready to explode. He places his hands on his knees and takes several deep inhales. The orange feeler curls back unto itself before disappearing into the yellow tip that reseals around it. The whole objective of me doing this is to make you come, I tease Kaus. We'll come together, but not on my kotilo, in your lovely pussy. It's unlikely that you're not pregnant, but we're not tipping the scales. Then how do you plan to make me come? Well, you want to wear my kotilo. It'll suction to your pussy, giving you great pleasure. My jaw drops, and I can't form the words. Kaus chuckles at my dumbfounded expression. I take it you've never pegged anyone before. No, my limited sexual encounters after Juan Carlos were very, very vanilla. Mostly just missionary sex in the dark. Does that idea turn you off? No, the opposite, in fact. Have you done something like this before? Not with another person, but I've fucked my ass with my kotilo until I came. When it's detached, I don't normally feel what's happening, but I do if it's not touching me. I bite my lip, already wet at the thought of what Kaus is proposing. Slipping out of my shirt and jeans, I stand before him in nothing but my mauve bra and underwear. I love this color. Kaus tips my chin to claim my lips and kiss me with his barbels, slip my bra straps off my shoulders. The cups of my undergarment barely able to hold up my ample cleavage without them. He flicks a hand behind my back, undoing the hooks before lowering his face to my chest. There, he licks the nips at the full globes, his sharp teeth causing goosebumps to dot my skin. The barbel tweaks my right nipple, a sucker forming in suction to my tip of my breast. It sits there, pulsing, before popping off, leaving a bright red mark. Kaus does this to my left breast, along the top and underside, tiny suction cup hickeys decorating my skin. The pretty sight arouses me beyond words, as if Kaus is marking me as his. More, I whisper as Kaus growls, ripping my panties with his sharp nails. Then he reaches down, detaching his kotilo, turning the yellow tip to stroke my clit until I moan and beg him to come. Only then does he flip his cock around, suctioning the base right over my puffy lips, where it gives a throb. My breath...
I thought you said puffulets, and I was like, I thought she was human. What the fuck? No, puffy lips. Okay.
My breath chokes into a gasp at the intense pleasure, the weight of Kaus's kotilo a foreign sensation. I stare at the empty space where his cock used to be, the spongy area reminding me of an inverted suction cup. What does it feel like? I ask, pointing to the spot. My ADO? He runs a finger over the dark teal flesh. Soft. Is it pleasurable for you when you touch yourself there? Kaus shrugs. A bit. My sexual arousal without my kotilo is muted. Well, that makes sense. Deciding to test it out, I bump the yellow tip of his cock into the ADO. I shudder. A shudder racks his tall, muscled frame, and I grin. I take it that does feel good. Brat. For this, I bump him again, and he snarls under his breath. His arms shoot out to bind around mine, but I wiggle free, dancing behind him. In a graceful move, he drops to his knees, presenting his ass. I stare, suddenly unsure. The idea sounded so hot when he offered, but now I'm getting cold feet. What if I hurt him? How do I do it? Marea? Yes, Kaus? You're overthinking this. Just relax. My kotilo will guide you. It has a mind of its own. I snort. That's for sure. Okay, just relax. Exhaling, I line up the yellow tip between Kaus's cheeks, marveling at the smooth teal skin that parts when he places a hand on either side to spread them. His kotilo wiggles in the air between us, and then, like a heat-seeking missile, lunges forward. The tip stabs into him, disappearing all the way into the lime green of his shaft. Nearly 3 inches down, Kaus groans, and my pussy flutters at the bombardment of sensations. Are you okay? I will be. Won't you start fucking me? My brow furls with concentration as I work my hips back and forth. Soon, I fall into a rhythm that has both Kaus and me panting. Damn it, I want to watch you come, Kaus complains, when I whimper at the particularly strong contraction of the suction base against my clit. Then turn your head and watch me, because I'm going to come. Kaus freezes. Not yet. Detach my kotilo. I start to move out of him, but he stops me. No, pop it off from your body, but leave it inside me. Holy hotness. Okay, I stammer, trying to dislodge his cock from my outer pussy. It doesn't budge, but Kaus twists around and shoves a hand between his kotilo and my pussy, wrenching it free. He smacks the base, and I swear his cock burrows deeper into his ass. Without it, I feel naked and antsy, my clit aching for attention. As if reading my mind, Kaus grabs my hand and tugs me to stand before him. Then he sits, embedding his cock even deeper into his ass. My eyes must be bigger than saucers, because Kaus chuckles as he settles me over his ADO. The spongy flesh reminds me of what my pussy feels like, but not as wet, and I wonder if this is what it feels like to scissor another woman. Rub up against me, Kaus commands, with his hands gripping under my ass for balance and support. I take the tentative bump against the area. The friction feels divine, and I do it again, over and over, until I'm humping the spot with abandon. Fuck, such a good girl, my Cthulhu praises, and a tingle swoops through my stomach at his words. Although seated, Kaus oscillates his pelvis, working both his kotilo and his ass, as well as his ADO, for both our pleasure. Kaus, I can't finish my sentence because a powerful orgasm crashes through me. All I can do is stare at my pink lips flattened against the teal of Kaus's ADO, wet from my pussy juices. My whole body seizes up as my Cthulhu grinds me into him. I tip my head back, pleasure zipping through every nerve of my body. Beneath me, Kaus tenses. His glowing gaze locks with mine, and a howl rumbles through his chest and out his mouth. His hips buck, and I stare in fascination, aroused to know that his own cock knots his ass. The thought of his purple cum dripping out sends me a mini ripple of desire coursing through me. The two of us stay pressed against one another, while Kaus rains kisses all over my face, his barbels lovely stroking my skin. Well, there you have it. How do you feel about that, Ash?
Yeah, that happened.
I was like, right. Of course I picked this book up because his detachable penis is used to peg him. Of course, that's why I would pick this book up.
Yeah. Yeah, you did.
It makes a lot of sense.
And then I had to experience it too.
Thanks for coming along on this ride with me, Ash.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, do you want to rate this book? Maybe? Do you want to rate it on
Kotilos?
Yeah, detachable kotilos. I think we can rate it on 5 of those because that seems like an accurate number.
Or dendrites? Not dendrites. Baubles?
Barbles?
Barbles?
Barbles, the weird face tentacle dudes. Yeah, I mean, let's okay. Barbles makes more sense potentially because there's a bunch of them. So let's go rate it on 5 barbles.
Sure, let's rate it on 5 barbles.
Okay, as fun as I have had reading this book and torturing you with it, I do think that it is not great. The writing leaves something to be desired. The physical book itself makes me want to stab my eyes out. It just like whatever. It was a whatever book. I'm here for the novelty of it only, and the novelty of it, like I gotta give it like maybe a 2, I would say. Like the concepts behind this, if a different person had written it, would have been considerably better.
So your problem was with the author itself, not with the book.
Yeah. It's one of those like good concept, bad execution situations.
Is it?
Where like,
is it really?
Yeah, I honestly think it is, because I'm 100% into a lot of stuff that's happening here, but it's so poorly presented that I just like can't give it the time of day anymore. I would love to read the rest of their books though, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm into it. I don't know. I feel like, here's the thing. If I was going to dive into a monster romance series, this wouldn't be the series. So yeah, I give it a 2 barbles out of 5. But I will say, they are a younger author, so like continue writing and get better. That would be great. I would love to read your stuff like when you start like, you know, really coming into it. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. How do you feel about it?
I don't know that I can accurately provide a no.
When have we ever gone with accuracy in this?
Like a 1?
That's totally fair. That's a totally fair justification. Like, I don't even know if you need to justify it. I get it. I do.
I feel like I have more to say about it or feel about it if I had read it myself, but I'm not going to do that.
I honestly feel like if you read it yourself, I think you would rate it lower than a 1. So, and I'm not even like, it's not even exaggeration. Some of the writing and some of the choices, I think you would have had much bigger issue with than I did.
I'll tell you what I did take issue with is the whole like her tricking him into vaginal sex thing. That bugged me.
Yeah.
Like,
it's definitely a thing.
That was like,
it's yeah.
Yeah. I remember, you probably never watched it, but like Bridgerton, when Bridgerton first came out, it was pretty like the first season it was pretty, I don't want to say controversial but like there's a lot of things, and one of the things was like he never wanted to have kids, and she was so uneducated in terms of like understanding how kids are made and blah 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 blah, blah, and she thought he was saying he couldn't, and he was saying he couldn't, but because he had a horrible childhood, blah blah blah, whatever, and they're doing it, and he always pulls out, and she keeps like forces him to stay inside kind of thing, and like it's one of those like that's if it were a man who had done that to, like, it was a male main character who had done that to the female main character, it would be outrage.
That's statutory.
And I think that like the same respect should be given in the other direction, because it's not a conversation that is had enough, that women can also pull those things as well. And like I don't know, because I didn't read the book, obviously. From your explanation, and correct me if I'm misreading or misunderstanding the context to it, but like she did that, and like it still seemed like you were supposed to feel bad for her, because the worst thing that ever happened, like it's almost like the fact that she got pregnant and she had all these things happen, like justified the fact that she did the bad thing. Like,
there's the way it's framed in the book is that she didn't want to have anal sex. Like, she did not enjoy it.
Yeah, fair.
She was not having a good time. But, and this is like, and here's the thing. The real problem with all of this is religion. Is what, like, that's the bad guy here. But, like, framing the characters that, like, Juan Carlo did something bad by wanting to do anal only and never doing vaginal.
Yeah.
And then the fact that she's like, I want to do vaginal, and then did it anyway. Both of those things are very bad, and none of it's okay.
Yeah.
Hers, I would argue, like, that's exceptionally not good. But the fact that, like, she never spoke up, or like, no, sorry, it wasn't even that she didn't speak up. It's that because she did in the book too. And she was like, Juan Carlo, like, I'm not into this. It's very uncomfortable. Can we just do vaginal sex, whatever? Like, that was always ignored on the other end too. And so, like, there's a lot of bad shit going on here. But it's one of those like two wrongs don't make a right situation.
Well, and I think it also takes away from the fact that, like, as the reader, you would really feel for the main female character in that situation, and that she wasn't listened to, and, like, you know, she was in this bad situation, and, like, I would empathize with her a lot more if she didn't turn around. It's like, oh, you know, someone's throwing snowballs at you, so you turn around and fucking put rocks in the snowballs. You know what I mean? Like, you escalated the bad thing. Yes, it sucks that you were put in this position and you had to have these conversations, but, like, what you then did as a result of it was, in my opinion, way fucking worse.
And like, here's the thing is that, like, I 1,000% agree with you. I do. But the way this is framed is that they're both idiots and religious.
Oh, 100%.
And so she would not possibly know
Yeah.
that was how you create kids.
Oh,
like,
no. And it's not even...
it's almost like on par with her as a character, I think, is how, and here's the thing, Ash, is that you and I are looking way too far into this too, given what is written in this book. Like, the author did not go this far into it. So,
but that also could be part of the problem that I have with it, and that, like, it was an idea that was taken that in my mind was very, very serious, and, like, should be a thing that's talked about seriously, and it was used as a means of, like, creating a plot device that wasn't taken seriously, and that I think bugs me, because it's a book about a fucking tentacle dude, and, like, I get that. It's like when people take these, like, lighthearted whatevers, like, if you're gonna do something like that, like, take a very serious topic and work it into, like, a rom-com-y kind of thing, you gotta do it justice, or you gotta leave it alone.
I agree too, because, like, and especially where, like, there is a way you could have done this with the same kind of result to a point, but much better.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it didn't need to be that thing. It could have been something else. Like, that doesn't mean that she couldn't have had, like, what she perceived as the worst thing ever happening to her, or maybe they wanted to have that. Like, clearly it was important to the whole, like, baby being taken, egg being, like, I get that, but, like, to me there is another way in which that could have gone down that would have given me less ick.
I agree. I 1,000% agree with that. Yeah. So yeah, that's, I mean, whatever. You weren't wrong in not wanting to read this book. I don't want to say you were, you know, I want to validate the fact that you're like, I don't want to read this. And I'm like, that's totally fair. That's 1,000% fair. I don't know. I didn't, like, hate it. I like reading stuff for the novelty of it sometimes. And I think you're going to see that going forward on the podcast specifically.
Yep.
Is because where we're alternating books, I'm going to be reading some real trash, and Ash is going to be reading probably some really great books. So
I wouldn't say they're great. I would just say that the content is going to be drastically different.
Yes, there's a different vibe going on. So and honestly, like, I'm going to ease into that because I like reading trash books sometimes.
You're going to ease into that. How is this like, oh, tiptoe through the tulips? This is the first thing, and I'm easing into it. By the way, fucked with his own dick.
I'm easing into it like Kaus's kotilo eases into his supple ass.
You drove out to the middle of the fucking ocean and you jumped in. There was no fucking easing in. There was no tide pool with a random tentacle. You were just like, nope, fucking orca this shit or nothing.
Also, shout out to the orcas for doing great work.
I found a book that it's actually on my TBR. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting to, like, actually, like, find it. I keep seeing it on Instagram, and he's an orca shifter, a plus size orca shifter who is the captain of I think he's a pirate, and she's, I think, a silky.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Send me this book recommendation immediately.
It's been cropping up on my Instagram as, like, somebody's been doing fan art for it, and I'm like,
oh my god,
give
me it now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, legit. I think there's a thing where he, like, I'll send you the thing about it. I think, like, he tries to eat her at some point or something. Because, like, orca and
amazing.
seal, you know what I mean? Like, but, like, the characters look super endearing. I'm so excited.
I love it. That sounds wonderful. So on that note, the next time you're back, Ash, what book are you going to be telling us about?
Limerence by Scarlett Drake.
Very cool. And where can people get that book?
I think I read it on Kindle Unlimited.
Okay, so, like, available in ebook, basically.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's about two rival ballet dancers.
Okay, love this.
Yeah. I was, yeah.
Interesting. Is it like, what kind of, is it an MM romance?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool. So we will talk about Limerence by Scarlett Drake next time we are back. And thanks for sticking in there, guys. You can always follow us on Instagram if you want some updates. Try to keep that updated. We'll see how that goes. We're obviously not on Twitter anymore because Twitter's dead. But yeah, and you can always email me. Please send me emails. I love getting your emails.
Rachel's lonely in Montreal.
queensofspice@gmail.com. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for sticking in there and welcome back. And yeah, we'll take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Queens of Spice podcast. You'll find us on Instagram at Queens of Spice, or you can send us an email at queensofspice@gmail.com.